It is important that we separate concern from fear. There are a lot of things in this world that are not okay, and there are a lot of things in this world that we should be concerned about, but we need to separate fear from that concern. You see, a parent should be concerned for the safety of their children, and that concern should lead them to take appropriate steps to keep their children safe. Sometimes it can be challenging to discern the difference between fear and healthy concern. A lot of people feel like they should be afraid of things as if the fear of something is what keeps them safe. So here's the story. I've been a gymnast all my life, and I'm going to use this story of my gymnastics background to illustrate a point. My mother has a healthy amount of concern for me as I'm doing gymnastics and jumping around and doing all of those flips and all of those things. My grandmother, on the other hand, has an unhealthy amount of worry and fear as I'm doing those things. You see, my mother's trust in me, but being concerned for my safety, led to me taking appropriate steps to ensure that I was always safe and doing things properly to avoid injury. My grandmother's fear drove me crazy and it made it feel like I wasn't trusted, and it made it feel as though if I were doing something gymnastics related, then I was gonna die. Feeling as though I was going to die did not help me survive. It did not influence me to take appropriate steps to ensure my safety. Another example is that I've been told so many times that I need to be afraid of rattlesnakes, because if I'm not afraid of rattlesnakes, then I might be careless around them and I might, get bit. I might die. Hence, the fear keeps me safe. And this sounds logical, almost. Given that I know that a rattlesnake bite will be bad for me, I take appropriate steps to avoid one. If one crosses my path, then I leave. I'm not gonna try my odds against a rattlesnake. But what keeps me safe in this situation? Is it a fear of rattlesnakes? Or is it a knowledge of rattlesnakes? You see, it's the knowledge that keeps me safe. It's the knowledge that influences me to take the appropriate steps to stay safe. Fear doesn't actually help the situation at all. Concern needs to be safety-based, not fear-based. Let's use another example. Let's say somebody is standing on a street corner waiting for the crosswalk sign to change. Traffic could be whizzing by at 45 miles an hour, and if somebody were to try to cross the road at the wrong time, that could be lethal. So this person, in this example, is standing just feet, maybe inches away from death, waiting for that light to change. Would there be any benefit to feeling fear in this situation? Would fear help the person see the change of the light better? Standing on the street corner, trembling in fear, would be a waste of energy. What the person actually needs is correct knowledge and correct information about traffic laws. That's why when a child doesn't understand traffic laws, we hold their hand as we cross the road, because of appropriate concern, not out of fear. The truth will set us free from fear. Correct information and an understanding of that information is what keeps us safe. No fear is needed to avoid crossing the street at the wrong time. Fear causes hesitation and anxiety and stress, and it makes us feel as if something is happening that isn't actually happening at all. I have a friend who was terrified that his girlfriend might leave him. The thought of it had him weeping, had him bawling, so sad. So let's take a look at this. When a person is focused on the idea or the fear that someone will leave them, what shows up to their subconscious mind? An image of her leaving would appear in the subconscious mind. And since it's there, the body will respond as if it's happening, even though it isn't. That part of the brain doesn't discern time. It only responds to what is a point of focus to the subconscious mind. You see, a fearful forecast puts an image of focus into the subconscious mind that isn't there and may not ever be present, but it feels as though it's happening. Have you ever watched a movie that got your heart rate up? that kind of freaked you out or made you sad? Of course, we all have. When we watch a movie, it puts those images directly into the subconscious part of the brain, which in turn makes us feel as though that is our experience. A part of us interprets it as if it were happening to us. This is what makes movies engaging. But the part of the subconscious brain that tells you to say, "Look out, the bad guy is right behind you," it also causes your body to tense up and react as if it's your experience. In the same way, a fearful forecast leads us to react to scary future possibilities as if they were happening to us right now. It robs us of being present in the moment. It robs us of opportunities for joy. It robs us of opportunities to be a force for good. We respond to things that aren't there. We respond to things that haven't happened as if they have happened. And at the same time, we increase the probability of those things happening to us. This also happens with fearful, painful memories from the past. That memory puts an image on our mind, and it feels as though it's still happening, even though it might have happened years ago. Typically, it's the fearful things from the past, the painful experiences we've had, that cause us to fear the future. Other examples are if somebody fears failing, it will increase the probability of them failing, and they might feel as though they're failing even if they aren't. Fear of being criticized leads a person to feel criticized more often, and it increases the probability that they will orchestrate situations in which they are criticized. This might happen either way, because people will always be critical of other people, and there will always be times when you're criticized, but fearing that only makes it worse. Fearing that you are unsafe will cause you to feel unsafe even when things are perfectly fine. And fearing being alone will cause you to feel as though you're alone even when you're not. A fear of not having enough money can lead to situations in which you don't have enough money. And that again makes the situation 10 times worse because that's what you're afraid of. A fear of not being lovable can lead a person to feel as though they aren't loved even when they are, and it might cause them to reject the people that are trying to love them, and so they don't accept the love. That got kind of exciting. In summary, fear is one of the biggest saboteurs of a joyful life. Fear and joy cannot coexist. Too many of us all around the world, the entire world practically, has a blueprint for fear, and we think that that is what protects us. It's not. We have a political system and a media system that leverage and try to influence people through fear. It's all over the world. Do not take counsel from your fears. Or anybody else's fears for that matter. Don't take counsel from other people's fears. A lot of people have this misconception that if we don't fear what they fear, then we are being negligent or uninformed. And again, there are plenty of things to be concerned about, but not to be afraid of. Going back to the gymnastics example, if I'm concerned as a gymnast for my safety, I'm going to take the appropriate precautions to make sure that I execute everything safely. And if I am fearful as a gymnast, I'm thinking, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. And obviously that puts an image of crashing all over my subconscious mind, and that's all I'm gonna think about. And I'll tell you what, every single time I've ever been afraid while I'm trying to execute a flip, I've crashed. Yep. Remember that fearing something creates a fearful forecast, puts it into our subconscious brain, and causes us to be afraid of situations happening, more reactive to those situations when they happen, and it causes us just to be a lot more anxious and stressed about the world at large. Pay attention to your fears. Some fears are very obvious. Some are subtle. For some, living in a state of fear has become the new normal. They aren't even aware of their fears. Start paying attention to what scares you. Remember that concern is appropriate. Danger can be real, but fear always interferes and makes the situation 10 times worse. The most reoccurring theme of the scriptures is fear not. Throughout all of the scriptures, the standard works, it says fear not at least 365 times. That's at least once a day, every day of the year, to not be afraid. Be believing. Have hope. You are going to be okay. You're probably going to be better than okay. There's an affirmation that my dad actually taught me and he has me repeat often, and that is, no matter what happens next, even if it seems to be the worst news possible, I have no need to fear and things are going to turn out all right. They'll probably turn out great. You see, good things are coming. Great things await. Things are just around the corner. You don't know what God has in store for you. Exciting things, fun things, joyful things that you might miss out on if you're terrified of going around that corner. Affirmation statements and belief statements like, my life is joyful and things are turning out better than I could have planned on my own, also put images into our subconscious brain and makes it more likely that that will become the reality. Things are going to be all right. You're going to turn out on top. Fear not, for He is with you.